Hi everybody. Welcome to the video series on research methods and analysis. In this video, we will discuss about sampling methods. Many scientific truths we generalized in the population were based on the findings of research in samples of that population. Sampling can be defined as the process by which how we will select the sample from the population. Sampling can be classified into two based on its representativeness of the population. Representativeness is assumed to be high if each member in the population has the chance or probability to be the part of the sample. If the sampling method ascertains this probability, we can call it as probability sampling method. If the sampling method does not guarantee the probability, then we can call it as non-probability sampling method. In probability sampling method, we will choose the participants randomly from the population. Hence, this type of sampling method is also called random sampling method. Random selection can be easily practiced if the population is definite. As a first step, we can make a list of the participants. Each participant can be identified with an ID. First, we can prepare a set of lots with an ID in each. After preparing it, we'll fold the lots and deposit it in a fishbowl. Now, we can choose one lot after the other from the fishbowl. The individual with the ID in the chosen lot will be considered for the sample. While doing this, we ensure that everybody in the population will get a chance to be included in the sample. For instance, here the first person we chose is of ID 33. The second person is of ID 27. Likewise, I randomly chose 10 participants from the population to the sample using fishbowl technique. What we did now is called simple random sampling. However, this fishbowl method is not feasible if the population is large. In such situations, we will use the table of random numbers. The table of random numbers is a table with a lot of numbers. I can choose the participants based on the numbers, one after another, following a pre-developed pattern. Here, based on a pattern, I am choosing ID number 80 first, then 94, then 252. I can continue like this until I receive an adequate sample. After the arrival of the computer, we can have computer generated random numbers. This is done using random number generating software. We have to enter the range of the number in the software. Then in each click, the numbers appear randomly. For instance, the first member ID 93, the second member ID 2006, next member ID 30,657. Fourth member is the individual with ID 165,7000. Fifth is 16, and so on. We will do simple random sampling using any of these methods. Another type of probability random sampling method is stratified sampling method. We will use it if we need a representative sample based on strata. For instance, we like to have a sample of government health care workers for our next research. And we need a sample representing the whole India. First, we may conduct a simple random sampling to choose the states in India using a fishbowl technique. Imagine that we chose 8 states. This is the first strata. Now imagine that in first states there are 50 hospitals. In the second, there are 60 hospitals. In the third stage, there are 30 hospitals. And in fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh and eighth states, there are 40, 70, 90, 20, and 30 hospitals. We will select a random sample of hospitals in an exact proportion, such as 5 hospitals from the first state, 6 from the second, 3 from the third, and 4, 7, 9, 2, and 3 from each of the rest of the states. This is second strata. From each of these hospitals, we will randomly choose the participants, again in proportion to the number of healthcare workers. This will become the third strata. In area sampling method, we will randomly choose the areas and all the members in the chosen area will become a part of the sample. For instance, while conducting a research on the political socialization among the citizens between the age of 45 and 55 in a Grama Panchayat with 15 wards, we may randomly choose 5 wards. All the citizens aged between 45 and 55 in these 5 wards will be chosen to the sample. In cluster sampling method, instead of area, we are choosing clusters. Imagine that we have to conduct a research among the teachers from an educational district. The teachers in the educational district are the members of different clusters. Using a random sampling method, we can choose 4 of these clusters and then collect data from all the teachers in these clusters. If the sampling method cannot ascertain that all the members of the population have the probability to be chosen to the sample, then the sampling method is non-probability sampling method. The most popular non-probability sampling method is convenience sampling or accidental sampling method. Here, we will select our sample as we meet them. There is no presupposed strategy. We may meet them individually or in groups. We may continue this process until we achieve a sufficient sample size. In judgment sampling, we may take a little more effort to identify the sample. We may frame some criteria to make the judgment about the potential participant. Quota sampling has a similarity to stratified random sampling. We will decide specific quotas for each category in the sample. For instance, to conduct research among the government healthcare workers in India, we will deliberately choose states which are easily accessible to us. In each of these 5 states, we will decide as per our accessibility the hospitals from where we may collect data. From these hospitals, we may select the healthcare workers again as per our accessibility to them. Before the data collection, we will decide quota. How many states, how many hospitals from each state, how many participants from each hospital. Finally, we will have a considerable sample with us, segmented into mutually exclusive subgroups, such as 1,000 healthcare workers from 3 government hospitals at Rajasthan, 1,000 healthcare workers from 3 government hospitals at West Bengal, and so on. Another interesting non-probability sampling method is snowball sampling. We will use this if we do not have access to potential participants. For instance, we need a sample of HIV positive patient. We will first approach the person whom we know as HIV positive patient. Through this person, I will find another person, and then another, and then another, and so on. When a snowball rolls over the snow from the top of a snow mountain, its size increases. Likewise, when we move from participant to participant, the sample size increases. Now, isn't there a possibility that a non-probability sample can in some ways be representative of the population? The answer is yes. If we collected a sample of water from a well in a beaker, the water in the beaker represents the water in the well. However, In humanities and social sciences, the sample is more behavioral than physical. Still, if we are ready to take a large sample, there is a probability that the sample has almost all the characteristics of the population. We may be able to call that sample as a representative sample. Summing up, those were the most popular probability and non probability sampling methods. Thank you.